Throughout this entire series of videos we've done on IPv4 RIP version 2, I have left the timers at their factory defaults. What I want to do is I want to look at what those timers are, and I want to address how we would manipulate our devices in such a fashion that we're going to be able to change the amount of time it takes for our systems to converge, to detect issues, and also to send our hellos. Now, what we're going to find here is I'm going to go to a particular device. So let's say I'll go to R1, config T. I'm going to go under router RIP. And what I can do is under router RIP, I have a value called timers basic. Now the timer basic is going to give me the capability of controlling the interval between my updates. But what I want to do is I want to know what these are by default before I make any changes. Do show IP protocols is going to give me that information. And what we're going to see here is it's going to be 30 seconds for my hellos, 180 seconds for my hold down, for my invalid, 180 seconds for my hold time, and 240 seconds to remove prefixes that are in my routing table after they've quote-unquote expired. Now I can say timers basic and I can change each of those values. My interval between my RIP updates, I could change that to 10 seconds. My invalid time could be something like 30 seconds. My hold down could be 30 seconds. My flush time could be something like 90 seconds. I also have the capability of configuring something called the sleep time, but we're not going to go into that right now. All I really want to do is just focus on this idea of my timers. Now what I also want to do show IP, or do show history, is, and once again, it's not going to let me do it. Yep, there's just something wrong, something with this virtualization. So let's see, do show run section router. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this information right here and I'm going to plug it into every one of my devices. So we'll go all the way across the board. So en, config T, paste. Config T, paste. Not going to worry about it on ISP4. Config paste. 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 R5, R19, and 21. Now let's look at our show IP protocols. What are we going to see now? Let's see, we see the EIGRP configs. That's not what I'm interested in. Notice now my updates are going out every 10 seconds, 30 seconds for my invalid, 30 seconds for my hold, flushed after 90 seconds. So again, all I've done is I've changed my manipulations. But here's the issue. Let's assume that we have a problem here. What I'm going to do is on R2 or on R19, what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'm going to say, well, first of all, config T, router RIP, and I'm going to say no timers basic. And what that's going to do, that's going to put my system, show IP protocols, back to my default configs for RIP. So 30 seconds, 180, 180, 240. So now the problem is that I want to make certain that R19 and R5 are going to communicate with each other using the proper timers. But the issue here is that I am running a DMVPN. So what I need to do is I need to make certain that I make the configuration changes on each of these devices for R20 and R21. So what I'll do is I'm going to go to R20 and R21 and I'm going to remove that command that we just applied. So get rid of the timers basic. Do show IP protocols. So we're back to our normal operations. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to R5 and I want to go to my interface. So I'm going to go to interface tunnel 0 and I'm going to change my configurational requirement here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and say IPRIP advertise, and I'm going to say every 30 seconds on this interface. Now what that's going to do is that's going to place this interface, do show IP protocols, in sequence with what's happening on R19, R20, and R21. So what I've done is on an interface by interface basis, show run interface tunnel 0. Now I have, let's see here, redirects, not showing up in the list here. So show let's see, debug IPRIP. Let's see what's happening here. Let's see if I'm actually sending my updates out every 5 seconds or every 30 seconds. So I'm sorry, every 10 seconds or every 30 seconds. All right, let's U-all this and see if we can't sort through it real quick. Loop back. Tunnel 0. So we're sending an update out to tunnel 0. So here it is. Fast Ethernet 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, loop back 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. And as we can see, what's happening here is we can just look at the output on this link and we can tell straight away that we have a situation where we're sending out the loop back, the interfaces across our Fast Ethernet 0, 0 and our Fast Ethernet 0, 1 at a substantially faster rate than we're sending it out of our individual serial interfaces. Now what I've got also, I'm sorry, out of the tunnel interface. Now the other thing that I'm looking at here is that I was going to try to demonstrate was the fact that we have this configuration capability on an interface by interface basis. So looking at how this is operating, let's see what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show run interface E00 or E01 on R5 and let's see what we've got. Notice it says IPRIP advertise 10. Now if I take a look at 00, advertise 10. If I look at serial 0, I'm sorry, if I look at tunnel 0, I don't have a command because of the fact that 30 is the default. So here notice show run all pipe begin with interface tunnel 0. And what are we going to see here? Let's see, may have already passed it. Not yet. We're looking for IPRIP advertise 30. It's there, but it's a default configuration, so it's not going to appear under the configuration in this particular version of iOS. So the main point here is every interface that we have in our infrastructure is operating using 30 seconds between the submission of these updates using 224.0.0.9, except for tunnel 0, who is going to be using 30 seconds. So it's going to be 10 seconds on all of the interfaces because of the timers basic configuration that we did under the routing process, but I can override on an interface by interface basis by specifying this idea of IPRIP advertise under the interface. So again, very useful configurations and very useful commands, and it all really boils down to understanding exactly what's happening in our infrastructure with regard to exchanging our prefixes and how we can manipulate convergence, because whether we're talking about EIGRP, OSPF, or RIP version 2, even BGP, timers are going to prove significant in the operation of the protocol. So just a few more lessons, and then what we'll be doing is we'll be moving out of IPv4 RIP version 2. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.